Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Teniola Shoboale. On the program this week, variants drive a surge in COVID-19 cases across South America and in India. Plus, as countries attempt to open up, the WHO says it does not support the implementation of vaccine passports for now. We begin in South America, where coronavirus figures released by health authorities across the region show a number of countries grappling with a spike in infections and deaths. The surge has been linked to the spread of the Brazil variant, which is thought to be more than twice as transmissible as the original.
The Brazilian PI variant of COVID-19, which packs a suite of mutations that make it more transmissible and potentially more dangerous, has been carried across borders in South America in recent weeks, evading restrictive measures meant to curb its advance across the continent. In Lima, scientists have detected the variant in 40% of coronavirus cases. In Uruguay, it's been found in 30%. In Paraguay, officials say half of cases at the border with Brazil are PI. Other South American countries, Colombia, Argentina, Venezuela, Chile, have discovered it in their territories. Limitations in genomic sequencing have made it difficult to know the true breadth of the variant spread, but it's been identified in more than 24 countries from Japan to the United States. In turn, hospital systems across South America are at their limits. Uruguay's success early in the pandemic is barreling towards medical system failure. Health officials say Peru had only 84 intensive care beds left at the end of March. The intensive care system in Paraguay roiled by protests last month over medical shortcomings. The Brazilian city of Tabatinga in the Amazon rainforest, where officials suspect the virus crossed into Colombia and Peru as 70,000 of population was swept by PI earlier this year. Many in the area have family ties in several countries and are accustomed to crossing borders with ease. Most South American countries, with the exception of Brazil, adopted stringent containment measures last year. With national economies battered and poverty rising, public health experts fear more restrictions will be difficult to maintain. In Brazil, despite record death numbers, many states are lifting restrictions. The country has recorded more than 337,000 deaths. This week, the country recorded over 4,000 daily deaths for the first time. Brazil's biggest city, Sao Paulo, has had to ramp up efforts to empty old graves to make room for the soaring number of COVID-19 deaths. According to our World in Data, South America is one of the world's hardest hit regions, but has administered only 6% of the world's vaccine doses. The exception is Chile, which is vaccinating residents more quickly than anywhere in the Americas, but still suffering a surge in cases.
India has stepped up its coronavirus vaccination drive amid a deadly second wave of infections driven by COVID-19 variants. The country this week breached the 100,000 daily caseload mark for the first time since the pandemic began.
With daily infections rising about 12-fold since hitting a multi-month low in early February, the situation in India is worrying. After seeing a low in cases, authorities eased most restrictions and people largely stopped wearing masks and following social distancing. Some epidemiologists say more infectious variants of the virus may have played a role in the second surge. India has found hundreds of cases of the virus variants first detected in the UK, South Africa and Brazil. Hospitals in the worst affected state, Maharashtra, are being overrun by patients. India's richest state, home to its commercial capital Mumbai and numerous industries, reported a record of 57,074 new cases overnight on Monday.
Let's not blame the new strain for this. It's our COVID inappropriate behavior which is responsible for this rise. So I think the whole country needs to understand and start practicing it from today. Don't go out of the house unnecessary. Avoid closed people collecting in closed rooms. Maintain social distancing and never step out of your house without a mask.
India is the world's biggest maker of vaccines, and while it has injected nearly 80 million doses at home since starting its campaign, it is lower than many other countries for vaccines per capita, including that of more populated China, which started giving shots to its citizens much earlier. India is currently vaccinating everyone above the age of 45, having covered over 60s, health and frontline workers first. Some states have announced special vaccination drives targeted at journalists, bank employees and lawyers. The world's biggest inoculation drive aims to cover 250 million people by July, but experts say the pace needs to pick up further to meet the target. To scale up the drive, the country recently placed a temporary hold on exports of all Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine, which is being made by India's largest vaccine manufacturer, the Serum Institute of India. Since the pandemic began, India has confirmed more than 12 million cases and over 165,000 deaths. It's the third highest number of COVID-19 infections in the world after the United States and Brazil.
With the vaccine program rolling out rapidly across the UK and infections numbers falling, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has given the green light for the country to proceed to stage 2 of his roadmap out of lockdown from April the 12th. This makes way for the reopening of all shops, gyms, hairdressers and outdoor hospitality areas.
Outdoor pubs and restaurants, gyms, hairdressers and non-essential shops will reopen in England on April 12th as the country moves ahead with the next phase of its exit from lockdown. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said on Monday, the 5th of April, that the country is meeting its 4 tests for lifting COVID-19 restrictions.
And the net result of your efforts, and of course of the vaccine rollout, is that I can today confirm that from Monday the 12th of April we will move to step 2 of our roadmap, reopening shops, gyms, zoos, holiday campsites, personal care services like hairdressers, and of course beer gardens and outdoor hospitality of all kinds. And on Monday the 12th I will be going to the pub myself and cautiously but irreversibly raising a pint of beer to my lips.
Britain's 4 tests include a significant fall in case numbers, manageable capacity in the National Health Service, continued progress with its vaccine rollout, and new COVID-19 variants not fundamentally altering the picture. And in the next major milestone in Johnson's plan to ease lockdown after April 12th, the Prime Minister says he's hopeful that non-essential international travel would restart from May 17th. The UK has pulled off one of the world's most successful vaccination campaigns. More than half the adult population has been given either an AstraZeneca or Pfizer vaccine shot. Meanwhile, as the British government further eases lockdown restrictions, everyone in England is now entitled to regular tests for COVID-19. On the plans announced on Monday, people will be offered rapid tests twice a week to prevent outbreaks and find those not displaying symptoms. Although the UK is able to relax its rules while other countries in Europe are tightening theirs, the country still remains one of the worst hit by the pandemic. It's recorded almost 127,000 deaths, the 5th highest death toll in the world.
With millions of people receiving COVID-19 vaccines globally, some countries have already started planning the implementation of vaccine passports. The purpose of this, some experts say, is to allow people to travel, attend large gatherings, access public venues, and return to work without compromising personal safety and public health. However, the World Health Organization says it does not support the implementation for now. Here's why.
More than a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, implementation of strict lockdowns is slowly giving way to planning for coronavirus vaccination. In the process, a new question is emerging. Should governments and the private sector embrace the idea of a digital vaccine passport for travel and even for everyday life? In Israel, vaccine certification is already a thing, with the Green Pass initiative granting certain privileges to citizens who have had both doses of the vaccine or have recovered from COVID-19. China has launched a digital COVID-19 vaccination certificate for its citizens planning cross-border travel. European officials have also announced plans for an EU-wide green digital certificate. This would allow anyone vaccinated against COVID or who has been tested negative or recently recovered from the virus to travel within the region. But the World Health Organization says it does not back requiring vaccination passports for entry or exit into countries due to uncertainty over whether inoculation prevents transmission of the virus, as well as equity concerns.
Again, this is why we as WHO are saying at this stage, we would not like to see vaccination as a the vaccination passport as a requirement for entry or exit, because we're not certain that at this stage that the vaccine prevents transmission, and there are all those other questions, apart from the question of discrimination against people who are not able to have the vaccine for one reason or another. Not everyone has access to vaccines, and there are groups in society who are excluded. In many countries, for instance, pregnant women are not offered the vaccine, or children under 18. There are large numbers of or people who are immunosuppressed. There are many people who may not be able to get it. And then, of course, there's the lack of access to vaccines in many countries. We're still waiting on adequate supplies to provide the vaccines to all the countries that need them.
Proving you're vaccinated to travel abroad isn't a new concept. Some countries have required yellow fever vaccines for years, but a passport for domestic use, such as for going to the gym, is new territory. Advocates say such passports would hasten the return of a normal world with travel, sporting and cultural activities, and dancing in packed nightclubs. However, skeptics predict they could result in discrimination and fraud, encouraging risky behavior in the face of a new coronavirus variant, and be a privacy minefield. And the logistical challenges in implementing them across multiple states and countries is also immense.
For the second year running, Christians around the world have celebrated Easter amid the COVID-19 pandemic. But this year, there are fewer restrictions in some countries. In the United States, as more than 100 million people have received at least one dose of the vaccine, churches in some states opened for Easter service. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent, Maria Bird, tells us how Americans celebrated the holiday.
Easter holiday celebrations in the U.S. were welcomed with open arms as many Americans started to venture out. While social distancing and mask wearing is still a norm in the U.S., some families were even able to attend houses of worship this Easter season.
Our spirits are lifted when the crocuses, daffodils, tulips, and the cherry blossoms first appear, even though the ground surrounding them might still be chilled in a few places. The long, cold nights of winter made us yearn for the bright days of spring.
The annual Easter egg roll at the White House was canceled again this year, but the president hosted a virtual Easter celebration from the White House.
When we celebrate resurrection and renewal. But this year, we know many are still going without the familiar comforts of the season. The virus is not gone, and the second year in a row, most will be apart from their families, their friends, and the full congregation that fill us with so much joy. But the scripture tells us, joy cometh in the morning. As we celebrate the renewal of this season, we know that longed-for dawn is almost here. We will rebuild our nation. We will re-engage and reimagine what we can be. We'll remember that with faith, hope, and love, anything is possible. And we look forward to next year when the White House will ring with joy of the season once again, and there'll be an Easter egg roll, God willing. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops and take care of the Easter Bunny. Thank you all very, very much.
During this holiday, some Americans went outdoors and enjoyed the famous Washington cherry blossoms. Even though many Americans were able to enjoy the Easter holiday, we are still aware that COVID-19 is still in our midst. From Washington, Maria Bird, Foreign Dispatches.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, we'll have more on Easter celebrations across the world. Please stay with us. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. In South Africa, while many spent the Easter in churches and with their families, some people threw caution to the wind as they celebrated the holiday. COVID-19 infection numbers are down, but the government says a third and possible fourth surge in numbers is still expected in the country. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, has the story.
Across the country, Easter celebrations range from the usual. To the sometimes daring which threw COVID safety measures out of the window. Health Minister Dr. Zweli Mkhize, in his Easter message, called for continued adherence to safety regulations.
At this time, we've managed to rise above COVID-19 and keep the transmission rates low. Let us therefore use the holidays to celebrate our hard-won victories, but also to reflect on the war that coronavirus continues to wage. We do not want to celebrate Easter with our friends and family only to bury them the following weekend. The government remains committed to the protection of our people, and this year millions of South Africans will be counted amongst the vaccinated in the world. But whilst we roll out vaccines, we must celebrate safely and continue to wear masks, sanitize, avoid crowds, and obey the regulations to protect ourselves and our loved ones.
Many also spend time giving to those who have lost all or have little. Nigerian ex-soccer international player Ida Peterside, who now heads a church and a charity, says religious bodies need to do more for their congregation as the difficulty many face today is quite glaring.
I think the church is the first place. Organizations like the church must reach out. I said so during the service. Most times people come and they give to the church, they come, they donate. What do we do with the donations? What do we do with what people give to us? Jesus said, I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me water to drink, which is what the gospel is all about. Easter celebration like this, so many will go to their houses without food. The thing is to give hope, preach to them, and give back to the society.
Work has now resumed, and the welcome back to all is yet another fuel price increase at midnight into Wednesday by nearly 1 rand per litre for petrol and up 65 cents for diesel. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia for Foreign Dispatches.
Over in the United Arab Emirates, Christians celebrated Easter without pomp and fare for the second year running as government guidelines on large gatherings and places of worship remain in place. Our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, brings us the details.
Easter celebration across the UAE was low-key as Christian faithful marked the holiday despite restrictions on large gatherings.
Hall that goes for about 250. Now you can only have 50 people gathered there. So that has impacted on their attendance. So that means you have to, while some people are doing live service, just 50 people, the handful of the others are online.
It has been over 1 year since the country first introduced COVID-19 guidelines, many of which are still enforced. In some churches, such as this one in Abu Dhabi, the capital, all Easter services, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, and Easter Monday, were combined into a one-day affair.
So, irrespective of the trying times, the challenging times, we have to make the most of the opportunity we have to still celebrate Jesus even at a time like this.
Many churches cannot conduct services for failing to meet government requirements, and those that can have to ensure strict compliance by managing attendance. Some, such as Fellowship Dubai, employ a unique hybrid of outdoor in-person cells and online services. Water baptism, a Christian ritual tailored after the death and resurrection of Jesus, takes place in this private pool.
Philip, do you ask for baptism?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Let's baptize you. Come this way. Put your hands like this.
Yeah, it's a bit slopey here.
Yeah, it's okay. Philip, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son.
Easter 2021 is done and dusted, but many continue to hope that someday soon they can gather again and worship in large numbers. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Mayowa Adigoke for Channels Television.
And finally, as the UK eases restrictions and slowly emerges from lockdown, the Royal Opera House, also home to the Royal Ballet, is set to return to the stage. After shutting down for over a year, they are back and ready to spread the message of hope with their voices. Take a listen.
Wrapped in coats and with London's famed landmarks behind them, members of the Royal Opera Chorus sing their hearts out in their first reunion in a year. Standing apart due to social distancing measures brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, the 25 singers are gathered on the rooftop of the Royal Opera House in London's Covent Garden. Their performance is streamed on the Royal Opera House's Facebook page on Good Friday as the venue prepares to welcome back audiences in May.
About the springtime and celebrating the coming out of lockdown, and luckily we got a little bit of sun, and it's about greeting, Easter time and greeting the world, after lockdown.
I think that we all need a bit of hope right now. I mean, it's been such a rough year, and in particular for opera. I mean, if you were going to invent a virus that was particularly damaging to an art form, it has been COVID for opera. I mean, it's been a really rough year. And what this surrounding does, it suggests hope, it suggests the future, it suggests height, and it suggests ambition. And those are all of the things that we should be aspiring to at the Royal Opera House.
Like other cultural venues across Britain, the Royal Opera House, also home to the Royal Ballet, shut its doors in March 2020 when Prime Minister Boris Johnson ordered Britons to stay home to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Now, as the country slowly emerges from lockdown, the venue last week announced early plans for its 2021-2022 season, its first full season since 2019.
I'm looking forward to the day when we can hug each other again. We really do look after each other, and just looking forward to seeing, the standing ovations when the audiences are back. I know they need it just as much as we do, and it's just going to mean so much more to everybody once we are back and able to make music.
It will first welcome back audiences from May 17th with performances including a new Royal Opera production of Mozart's La Clemenza di Tito. For now, members are just happy to be able to sing together once again and spread the message of hope.
Well, this is where we say goodbye till next time. Remember, our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you so much for watching the program. I'm Tenyola Shoboale. Stay safe.